Welcome back to your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit. Today, we're diving into a story that blends politics, global supply chains, and the very engines that keep America's roads alive. What was once celebrated as a renaissance of U.S. auto manufacturing is now sputtering into crisis. Hyundai, the South Korean powerhouse that transformed Alabama and Georgia into automotive strongholds, finds itself at the mercy of policy whiplash. Immigration raids, tariff walls, and political friction have left once booming plants teetering on the edge. Communities are bleeding, investors are wary, and the bigger question looms: is America pushing away the very automakers it fought to attract? How Hyundai became America's promise and its risk. Hyundai's arrival in the American South was once hailed as a triumph of global partnership. Alabama and Georgia courted the automaker with tax breaks and infrastructure upgrades, and the payoff was huge. Plants buzzed with SUVs, sedans, and eventually EVs, while tens of thousands of jobs fueled local growth. Entire towns flourished as restaurants, suppliers, and housing markets thrived on Hyundai's presence. But behind the success lay vulnerabilities. Modern auto manufacturing is deeply global, and Hyundai's U.S. operations still relied on imported batteries, wiring harnesses, and expertise from Korean technicians critical for EV battery production. This dependence left the company exposed to tariffs, immigration crackdowns, and shifting geopolitical currents. Consumer trust, built on affordability and generous warranties, also proved fragile. Rising costs from disrupted supply chains or tariffs quickly eroded Hyundai's price advantage. In effect, Hyundai's American story reflects globalization itself, celebrated when politics are stable, but precarious when policies turn punitive. And those vulnerabilities came into sharp focus during the shocking raid that stopped Hyundai's momentum in its tracks. The raid that stalled the engine. On September 4th, 2025, the U.S. carried out its largest single-site immigration raid at Hyundai and LG's battery plant site in Elabel, Georgia. Federal agents detained 475 workers, many South Korean specialists essential to final assembly, halting construction overnight and stalling a multi-billion-dollar project that was to anchor Hyundai's U.S. EV future. The disruption was immediate. Commissioning timelines collapsed, suppliers froze shipments, and contractors stopped work. Losing key technicians derailed battery calibration, leaving a state-of-the-art facility silent. Schedules planned years ahead unraveled in days. The political shock ran even deeper. Seoul condemned the raid, noting many detainees held valid visas, and a leaked memo revealed at least one legally documented worker was taken, fueling charges of overreach. South Koreans began questioning America's reliability as an investment partner. Investors across Asia and Europe were rattled. If Washington could jeopardize $12.6 billion overnight, what project was safe? Locally, suppliers, restaurants, and families felt the economic sting. The raid proved how fragile industrial ambition becomes under policy whiplash. Before we dive into tariffs and trade wars, take a second to hit subscribe and ring the bell. That way, you'll stay up to speed on every twist, turn, and shakeup in the auto world, right here at Piston Pundit. Now, let's steer straight into the next challenge Hyundai faces: tariffs and trade policy. Tariffs, policy swings, and the war on imports. Even before the raid, Hyundai was already squeezed by U.S. trade policy. Under Trump's America First framework, Korean automakers faced a 25% tariff on vehicles and parts, while Japanese rivals like Toyota and Honda were taxed at just 15%. That gap carved away Hyundai and Kia's competitive edge. By mid-2025, Hyundai's profits had plunged over 20%. Popular models jumped $3,000 to $6,000 in price, gutting the affordability that defined the brand. Showrooms went quiet, fleet buyers defected, and dealers watched loyalty erode. Hyundai absorbed part of the pain, trimming profit margins from 8% to 6%. Long-term, it pledged that by 2030, 80% of U.S. sales would come from American-built vehicles, anchored by a Georgia expansion to 500,000 units annually. But localization isn't foolproof. Tariffs still hit imported subcomponents, while heavy U.S. investment risks backfiring if policies reverse. Consumers, meanwhile, face fewer affordable choices. Ironically, a policy meant to protect U.S. industry has raised costs for families while destabilizing one of the South's largest foreign investors. And when the automaker struggles at this scale, the ripple effects go far beyond corporate boardrooms. They strike directly at local communities. Bleeding lines, economic fallout across communities. Hyundai's struggles ripple far beyond its balance sheets. In Georgia and Alabama, the automaker wasn't just a company, it was an economic engine. Suppliers clustered nearby, restaurants thrived on worker traffic, and schools prepared students for manufacturing careers. When tariffs tightened and raids hit, that ecosystem began to falter. Dealerships felt it first. Cars sat unsold, financing costs soared, and sales teams struggled to justify higher prices. Workers braced for layoffs or reduced hours, while suppliers who invested in Hyundai tooling faced unpaid invoices or slashed orders. Restaurants and small shops in towns like Elabel and Montgomery saw tables empty as plant activity slowed. Local governments lost payroll and sales tax revenues, while colleges training EV technicians questioned whether those jobs would materialize. Most damaging was the psychological blow. Communities once convinced foreign automakers meant stability now doubted their durability. So the question became, would Hyundai retreat under pressure or fight back with a counterpunch of its own? Hyundai's counterpunch: retreat, reform, or reinvent? Amid crisis, Hyundai isn't retreating. In September 2025, it pledged a $2.7 billion expansion at its Georgia plant, boosting capacity by 200,000 units and aiming for 500,000 vehicles annually within 3 years. The move signals determination to endure rather than fold. Hyundai is also lobbying for immigration reforms, pushing for a visa track to secure skilled foreign specialists vital to battery and gigafactory operations. Without them, executives warn, U.S. plants will remain vulnerable to disruption. On the product side, Hyundai is hedging. EVs remain central, but hybrids and extended-range electrics provide balance for consumers wary of high costs or range anxiety. A long-awaited mid-size pickup is also part of its U.S. push. Financially, Hyundai trimmed margins but aims to recover by 2027 through scale, automation, and diversified suppliers. Global goals remain ambitious: 60% electrified vehicles by 2030. Still, bold strategies only matter if they can withstand the ultimate test: America's volatile politics and shifting policies. Final lap. Is Hyundai holding steady or slipping away? Hyundai stands at a crossroads. The Georgia raid exposed just how brittle foreign investment can be when policy whiplash takes the wheel. Tariffs, labor shocks, and diplomatic rifts have cornered a company once viewed as untouchable. Yet, instead of folding, Hyundai is doubling down, expanding production, lobbying for reforms, and retooling its product playbook. The real verdict? Hyundai is betting billions on America, but whether that wager pays off depends on more than factories and cars. It hinges on politics, policies, and whether Washington wants to keep its foreign partners in the race or push them off the track. And now, over to you. Do you think Hyundai's expansion is a bold masterstroke or a desperate gamble? Should U.S. policy prioritize protecting domestic automakers, even if it risks alienating foreign investors? And most importantly, would you still choose Hyundai if tariffs keep pushing prices higher? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We love to hear from you. Before you go, hit that subscribe button to stay tuned here on Piston Pundit for the latest updates, insights, and automotive shakeups. Thanks for watching and see you next time. You can now check out any of the videos on the screen. There's plenty more to explore.